Welcome back to Unapologetic Progressive. Today we're brought to you by Dubby Energy. Dubby Energy has zero sugar, 150 milligrams of caffeine, great for a mid-afternoon pick-me-up. As well, there's none of that nasty sugar to get in your way to, spike your blood sugar if you're diabetic or if you're just trying to cut some weight. Um, Dubby Energy, be better. Now, today we're going to talk about what went on in the Senate. Now, in the Senate, we had some bills going through, especially this reconciliation bill. And the GOP is really mad at the parliamentarian in the Senate because she ruled that a number of provisions that they were wanting to pass in this reconciliation bill didn't pass the Byrd rule, which the Byrd rule, if I recall, it requires anything in a reconciliation bill to be directly tied to the federal budget. And many of the things that they were wanting to push were not tied directly to only the federal budget. So it didn't pertain to just the federal budget. It also affected, states and things like that as well, and retirement accounts for those people who have retired within the government. Now, let's go through some of the things here that the parliamentarian did not like. I'm going to read you this little list here. According to this little article here, I'm looking at the parliamentarian blocked provisions that included Medicaid provider tax changes, a plan to change or to cap states' use of healthcare provider taxes to obtain more federal Medicaid funding was ruled out, as it would require the states to increase their own taxes or cut services. So this is one of those where it would have affected the states. Therefore, it wasn't just it was something that would affect the state budgets, not just the federal budget. Also, Medicaid and chip restrictions on immigrants would have been changed. This provision was blocked. The provision was aimed at restructuring or denying Medicare or Medicaid or children's health insurance, the CHIP program coverage, to undocumented immigrants. That was rejected by the parliamentarian. Restrictions on gender-affirming care funding. Language would have prohibited Medicaid and CHIP funding for gender-affirming care. That was also blocked by the parliamentarian. Subsidies would have been cut for the ACA. That was blocked by the parliamentarian. Other provisions that violated the Byrd rule included changes to the federal retirement system, limitations on contempt of court powers, restrictions on SNAP benefits, among other things involving the Credit Protection Bureau. Now anything could change here, right? But right now, part of this bill is DOA. The things I was really worried about, like massive SNAP cuts, cuts to Medicaid, Medicare, things like that, those things are not going to be able to happen under with the parliamentarian making these rulings. Now, the thing is, the Republicans are really hardcore out there trying to get this woman fired from her job that she's had since 2012. Now, since she was parliamentarian, she's come out against both parties. So it's not like she's being biased here. She was appointed by Harry Reid back in 2012. And in 2021, Democrats tried to push a bunch of, pet projects through reconciliation. And a lot of those provisions were blocked by her as well because they didn't pass the rules of the Senate. And reconciliation has a specific set of rules that congressmen and senators must pass in order for these things to be successful and to be able to be included in a reconciliation bill. This isn't like this woman's just decided all of a sudden out of nowhere that, she wants to go against the Republicans. Multiple times during Obama's term, during Trump's first term, during Biden's term, and now she has gone against both parties, blocking things that didn't follow the rules, that didn't pertain to the federal budget. And for example, in 2021, what she blocked was a bill that all Democrats wanted, and many Republicans were asking for it as well. At least 10 Republicans were asking for it in the Senate at the time. But it was a bill that would have increased the national minimum wage to $15 an hour. She blocked that because it did not meet the rules required to pass. So don't get in my comments and try and be like, oh, she's just trying to derail Trump. No, she's not being biased at all. She's following the law. She is an expert in those rules. That is her job every day of the year, is to keep up with the rules on the floor of the Senate, the rules of what's being passed in the Senate, what's going on in the committees. This woman has a very hard job, and she is very dedicated to that work. She's been there since 2012. It is a very stressful job because you have people from both parties breathing down your neck nonstop. It's a job I wish I had, honestly, because I'd love to be able to be able to tell both parties to go shove it. That'd be great. And I think this woman is awesome. I didn't like that she blocked the 2015, or the 2012 $15 an hour minimum wage. But you know what? The way the Democrats tried to pass it, it wasn't passable. It couldn't be done. It had to have the 60 vote threshold. And that's just how it is. And that's what these votes are going to need. And so for right now, those things are going to be kind of on ice. Now it's possible that next week the Republicans will fire this woman and put in a yes person that'll just sit there and say, sure, you can do all of it. But at the same time, many of those things aren't going to pass muster with some Republicans. There are at least 4 Republicans that are going to vote no on the big, beautiful bill because of these cuts to Medicare, Medicaid, and SNAP benefits, because it hurts their people. Now, say what you will, but those are the facts. These provisions did not pass muster for the Byrd rule and other rules involving the Senate and reconciliation, and so she did her job. If she gets fired for doing her job, it'll be the end of our Congress, because that'll mean from now on there'll be a yes man or yes ma'am as our parliamentarian in this government. Therefore, the rules will never be followed again by either party. Because once Trump is able to fire this person for doing their job, that means Trump is going to insert somebody that's a yes man, that'll do anything he wants and say everything's legal. And then you're going to, on the Democrats, when they take power again, guess what? Same thing. They're going to end up doing the same thing. They'll just fire the woman or the man or woman, whoever takes the job, and the Democrats will do the same thing, and it's not right. We have these rules in place for a reason, to better keep checks and balances on all 3 branches of the government. That's the whole point of our government, is checks and balances. That's the whole point of how it was set up. That's what our founders envisioned. 3 separate but equal branches working together. And so I think it's good that they did what they needed to do, and I hope it works out. And that these provisions don't end up back in the bill. I hope the Republicans will take this warning and realize that they are brushing up against the law, and brushing up, and basically thumbing their nose at the rule of law in this country. Now, that's a big wish, because Republicans are never going to care that they're bumping up against the rule of law and thumbing their nose at it, right? But anyways, thank you for joining me. Check out Dubby down in the link in the description. It's a 10% off code if you use Unapologetically Progressive at checkout, and I believe the link will take you right to it anyway. You save 10% on Dubby. Dubby, I just got my first tub. It was that I received a few days ago. It's absolutely wonderful. There's no crashes, there's no jitters, there's no shakes, there's none of that. Just caffeine and stuff like that. So I will warn you now, though, that if you have issues with your heart or whatnot, and you're not supposed to be having caffeine, don't touch it. I'm pretty sure they wouldn't want you to order it or use it if it's got caffeine in it and you're not supposed to have it. So do be careful. Do make sure that you're being as safe as possible. Going forward, hopefully this will remain a sponsor, and hopefully this will help this channel make some money. For every, I'll get basically 10% of every sell. And so that would go right back into the channel and upgrading, cameras and microphones and things like that, as well as maybe helping get a little better background as well. All right, thank you for watching. I'll see you down the road.